Hey guys, what's up? It's Claire and welcome back to Bookmas. Today is day 6 of Bookmas, which means we are exactly halfway through Bookmas. As you can tell by the title, today we are going to be doing the end of the year book tag. I did the mid-year book tag and I want to say June of this year, so I'm really excited to wrap up the year with the end of the year book tag. I got all of the questions I'm going to be answering in today's video off of multiple different videos that I watched, and I chose 20 questions, so we're going to answer those today. These are all of the physical copies of books we're going to be talking about, but we're going to discuss some of my favorite books of the year, some of my least favorite books, the best authors that I read this year, and yeah, let's get right into it. So the first question I have is the most disappointing book of the year. And so to preface this, I want to say that this is not a book that I didn't like at all. This book in particular, I did enjoy to an extent, but I felt like it was just okay. That book is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Russ. And I know this one is probably shocking because I know this is some people's favorite book literally ever. I will say I did like it, and I felt like the premise of the book and the plot was great. I just don't think I loved the execution of it. I had just heard so much about this book. There was so much hype surrounding it that I felt like it was just really disappointing when I finally got to it. So this book follows two journalists. The main journalist's name is Iris, and this book basically follows her, and she is working at a newspaper firm. She has her arch rival Kit, and basically Iris decides to get out of the office and she's gonna go be boots on the ground at like a town or city that is right outside of the war zone. So she's reporting from that town, but her brother is actually in the war and she has not heard from her brother in a long time. So she starts to write letters to him on her typewriter, but instead of sending them to him, she tucks them underneath her closet door and they vanish. Little does she know, these letters are actually vanishing into the hands of her rival Kit. And the story goes from there. They start talking. She does know that it's not her brother who she is writing to, but she doesn't realize that Kit is that person. It is a romantasy. I believe it is young adult. I feel like a lot of people really did love this book. It just wasn't it for me. I'm sorry. Next we have What Was an Underdog book. This book I had to read for my book club earlier this year, and I had not heard about the book. I just picked it out, and I feel like this book deserves a lot more hype. I have heard of this author before though, and this author is pretty popular. I feel like this book needs to be talked about more because it was not necessarily a 5-star read for me, just because I feel like towards the end it got super strange. But I'm so surprised that I haven't heard more people talk about this book, because this was a page turner and it was one of those books that you did not want to put down once you got into the thick of it. This book follows Casey Fletcher, who is a recently widowed actress trying to escape a streak of bad press. She decides that she's going to go stay at her family's lake house for a while, and when she is there, not only is she an alcoholic, but she's also kind of a stalker. Basically, she watches all of the houses, she obtains a pair of binoculars, and is just really nosy with her neighbors. She thinks it is entertaining to sit on the porch and watch them all day. The main people that she watches are Tom and Catherine Royce, who live in the house across the lake. They are just like a super rich, nice, gorgeous couple that on the outside seems seemingly perfect until she starts to watch and discover more about their relationship. One day on the lake, Casey actually saves Catherine from drowning, and then as she continues to build a friendship with her and watch them more, she starts to realize that her relationship with Tom might not be safe. Eventually, Catherine actually goes missing, and then the mystery starts from there, and Casey basically takes it upon herself to try to figure out what happened, and she immediately accuses Tom. And then the bottom of this says, what she doesn't realize is that there's more to the story than meets the eye, and that shocking secrets can lurk beneath the most placid of surfaces. What? Surfaces. I feel like no one can guess the plot twist that happens in this because it was just so out of pocket and crazy, but if you're looking for a good page turner, I feel like this is it. Next, we have an overhyped book that you read. This is a book I don't even own a physical copy of anymore. I completely got rid of this and its entire series based off of my experience with this first book, and that is Twisted Love by Anna Huang. This is probably one of the worst books that I have ever read, and no, it is. I was gonna say that's a stretch, but no, it is. I did not like this book whatsoever, and that is my personal opinion. Just because I don't like a book doesn't mean that you won't like it. If you've read this book, you know why I thought it was cringy, and I have heard that the series does get better throughout, but I just didn't want to waste my time, because honestly I have so many books that I want to read and I just didn't feel like those ones were for me. Number 4 is a book that surprised you. So this book is actually my most recent read of the year, and that is Lightlark by Alex Astor. And this book in particular, I did not necessarily think it was going to be a bad book. I love a good YA fantasy, and this book in particular has a lot of the elements that we've seen before in many other YA fantasies, you know, like The Hunger Games, Powerless, etc. I was worried that it was going to be a little bit repetitive or a little bit too juvenile for me, but I really did enjoy this book and I was super surprised by it. I really need to finish the rest of the series. I have heard that people did not enjoy the rest of the series as much as they liked the first book, but this one really surprised me, so I wanted to talk about this one. Lightlark basically follows a main character, Isla, and she is a ruler of one of the realms in the Lightlark universe. Every 100 years, the island of Lightlark holds a competition of sorts, where all the rulers from all the different realms come together to try to break the curses on all of their islands. However, there is a catch, and that catch is that in order to break those curses, one of the rulers must go, and they take their entire realm with them. So, obviously, they've held this competition many times because it's a really difficult decision to make. This is like a romantasy, a little bit political, enemies to lovers, love triangle. It's a pretty good book. I did enjoy it. Next, we have your favorite book couples of the year. So I have 2 books that I have to talk about because I loved these couples so much. First, we have Abby Jimenez's Just for the Summer. We have Emma and Justin in this book, and guys, this is one of the best books I read this year. I absolutely adore Abby Jimenez. I adore her writing, and this book changed my life for the better. I just loved them together, and I seriously wish that they had their own series. Like, I'm so sad that we'll never really get more about these characters. It was just so good. And then my next book couple is Peyton and Kai from Powerless, and I don't even really know how to describe their relationship. It was definitely like an enemies to lovers situation. Then it turns into love triangle. It's messy, guys. It's messy. But I love Kai. Okay, I love Kai. It's book boyfriend material at its finest. This book was so good. I have not shut up about this book. I want to say this is my number 1 read of the year. It was like a 6-star for me. I loved Powerless. So that's my second book couple. The next question is your favorite main characters of the year. So for this question, I wanted to choose a book that I'm not going to talk about the rest of the video, haven't already talked about, something different, but there are a lot of main characters that I loved reading this year. But for this question in particular, I chose a book that might surprise you. I have A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas, and this is the 5th book in the ACOTAR series. If you don't know, this book follows Nesta Archeron's story, and that's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to spoil this for anyone. All I'm gonna say is in this book, my favorite character was Cassian. Do with that what you will. Next, we have a new favorite author that you discovered this year, so I did choose 2. I have Elsie Silver for the romance category and Lauren Roberts for the fantasy category. Particularly with Elsie Silver, I absolutely adore her writing. I feel like every book that she puts out is not only just so fun, so cute, and really brings me joy to read, but they're just so easy to digest. You can read it with 2% brain power and you're gonna understand what's going on. Then we have Lauren Roberts, who actually wrote Powerless, which is my favorite read of the year. So I had to put her on here because I adore her. I actually met her earlier this year and she was so sweet. I think she's literally younger than me, which makes me feel so unaccomplished at the fact that she's written 3 best-selling novels so far. That's crazy. Or 2 novels and a novella. Next, we have an author that didn't work out for you this year, and that is going to unfortunately be Carly Fortune. If you don't know who Carly Fortune is, she writes these like summery vibe romances. I don't really know how else to describe them. I read This Summer Will Be Different by her, which is I believe the book that she came out with this year. And guys, this book may have been this is my personal opinion. I'm gonna say it's my, don't. It's the worst book I've ever read in my life. This book drove me nuts. We'll talk a little bit about it later. But I usually will give authors more than one chance. I will read more than one of their books in order to see if I really do like their writing. This is an author that I unfortunately will not be doing that with. I just didn't enjoy it that much, so I'm gonna write off the rest of her books, so sorry about it. Next, we have, what is the happiest book you've read this year? I feel like there are so many cute romances that I read that had great endings, but for this category, I chose Wild Love by Elsie Silver. Talking about Elsie Silver again, absolutely adore her, and this is another book that I just ate up. They look a little bit thicker than they are because the words on the page are massive. Also, all of her books are on Kindle Unlimited, so that makes it super easy to get through the book super quick. This book is the first book in the Rose Hill series, and this series is it follows a group of single dads. And so this book in particular follows Ford Grant. He is a billionaire, and basically he just wants to escape into a small town and open a recording studio. He has these big dreams, but then one day his 12-year-old daughter that he doesn't even know exists actually knocks on his door and is like, hey, you're actually my biological dad and I need you to take care of me. So now he's balancing business with being a dad, which was super unexpected for him, and he realizes that he needs a babysitter, which is where Rosie Belmont comes in, who is his best friend's sister. So things get interesting. Rosie is trying to escape the city life for a little bit, and she desperately needs a job, which leads to Ford Grant hiring her to work at the recording studio. And the rest is history. It's a romance book. You can see where that's going. Next, we have the saddest book you've read this year. We have to talk about Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer. And now I will get into the plot of this book because this is one of my favorite books of the year, even though I did cry. This book follows Emma and Justin. Emma is actually scrolling through Reddit one day and she finds Justin's Reddit post, and basically he's talking about this curse that he has, right? So the premise of the curse is that every person that he dates ends up finding their one true love, the person they're meant to spend the rest of their lives with, after breaking up with him. Emma actually has this exact same curse, so she replies to his Reddit thread and she says, hey, why don't we date so that we can break this curse? Because the whole idea is that if they date each other, maybe after they break up with each other, they'll find each other's one true love. Yada yada, you get the premise. Except over time, Emma actually starts to develop feelings for Justin. She actually ends up moving to where Justin lives to date him just for the summer, hence the title. And things snowball from there. They have a list of agreements. They're like, we have to kiss 5 times and go on 6 dates or whatever in order to be considered dating, and then we're gonna break up. But things get deeper as Justin's around her more. He starts to learn more about her, and then eventually Emma's mom comes into the picture, and she does have a toxic relationship with her mother. And Justin himself is also responsible for taking custody of his 3 siblings, so they both have their own bigger issues that they need to deal with. So it kind of brings them together, but also causes some rifts in their relationship, so you'll see how this goes. And honestly, I feel like this book with Emma's relationship with her mother was somewhat relatable to me, so I feel like it really hit home for me, and it made me cry. Something I love about Abby Jimenez's writing is that she is so good at writing a fun rom-com that's gonna make you laugh and smile, but then she also typically will include a deeper topic that can really touch the reader's heart and not only educate them, but bring it to a more realistic level. Next, we have the most frustrating book you read this year. As I mentioned before, this is actually by the author that I decided didn't work out for me, and that was This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. So the plot of this book was around a best friend's brother romance. So the main character, don't even remember her name, her best friend's brother and her have a little bit of a history, and basically they're spending time together, etc. So that's the romance aspect of the book. But the big thing that really frustrated me was that the best friend actually has this big secret that she is keeping from everyone. She's acting super weird, she's showing up unannounced, etc. And so everyone's trying to figure out what this big secret is, and all I'm gonna say is when the secret is finally revealed, it is the most disappointing thing that I have ever read. I was like, this is what you were worked up about, girl. Next, we have your favorite covers of the year. So I've already talked about Just for the Summer multiple times, but this is my #1 favorite cover of the year. I mean, look how pretty this is. Like, what do you mean? A sunset, water, so cute. But I did pick another book to talk about, and that was A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. This wasn't my favorite read of the year, but I thought the cover was adorable. I love the color scheme, and it's like, it's just so cute. Next, we have a book you haven't stopped thinking about, and that book is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. And like I said, favorite read of the year. I adore this book. This book follows a main female character, Peyton, and basically she is powerless. She has no powers. She is an ordinary in a world of people who have all these gifts and powers, etc. But the catch is that those who are powerless are not allowed to live there. So basically, she spends her entire life pretending to be a sidekick. This is going to be her secret ability. She's trained by her father, etc. And then one day she ends up saving the prince's son, Kai, from danger. And then things lead from there. She is put into a competition. She has to fake her ability even more now and pretend to be powerful when she truly is powerless. I don't feel like I described that plot very well, but guys, so worth the read if you like fantasy. And it is a YA fantasy, and I know a lot of people really like spice in their fantasy, but I loved the tension in this book. I feel like that was even better than any spice that could have been thrown in there. Number 14 is an unpopular book you loved. So this book is not a book that I am deeming unpopular because of the opinions about it, but just the fact that I really have not heard anyone really talk about this book, and that is The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. This book is so cute. I think this was probably the funniest book I read this year. It was a genuine rom-com. This book follows main character Hallie. She's actually a bartender, and one day when she's bartending at a wedding, she actually ends up hooking up with the bride's brother, Jack. They spend the night together, and then the next day she belly crawls out of his room and sneaks away to never see him again. However, she decides it is time for her to finally find her match, and she goes onto a dating app. And believe it or not, she finds Jack almost right away on that dating app. They basically agree that they're not interested in each other. However, they decide to be each other's wingman and help one another find their one true love, and they make a love wager to see who will find that person first. However, at the end of every single date, they deem that the date has been horrible, bad, etc., and they meet up for tacos together and have their own little friendship date. And you can see where things go from there. Lines get blurred when they decide to be each other's fake date at a wedding, which I eat up a wedding romance too. Number 15 is a book you thought you would love but didn't. So I want to premise this by saying I did like this book. I did enjoy it. I just didn't love it. And that is Funny Story by Emily Henry. I know, okay. Funny Story by Emily Henry, not a bad book whatsoever. Concept, super cute. I will explain. First of all, Happy Place by Emily Henry is one of my favorite books, genuinely, that I have ever read. And that book means so much to me. I think about it all the time. And so that one set the standards so high, I just felt like this one could not surpass it. So I did go in with that preconceived notion, but I was really excited to read this book and I did enjoy it. I think I rated it like a 3.5 star, so that's still really good. But this book follows main characters Daphne and Miles. So Daphne is actually engaged to be married and Miles is in a relationship with another woman, but Daphne's man and Miles's girl end up leaving them for one another. I know, shocking. Basically, the two of them bond over that and they're like, hey, I actually need a roommate. Let's move in together. Let's be friends, etc. And things kind of spiral from there. They have a really great friendship at first, and it obviously turns into a romance because this is a romance book. And the main plot of the book is that Daphne and Miles actually pretend to be in a relationship with one another. They take photos, they post them online, they act like a couple in order to make their exes jealous to get back with them. And then it leads them into their own situationship. So that's where we're at with the book. I thought it was really cute. Now, my only bone to pick with it and why I didn't give it a 5 star and absolutely love this book is I felt like the relationship was so friendship coded that when it became romantic, it didn't make sense to me. I also loved Daphne as a character, but I feel like Miles didn't have enough depth to him, and it was okay. It was okay. Number 16 is the book with the most unique concept you read this year. And I chose The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This book is loved by so many people. I actually annotated this book, I mean, lightly, because I'm not a big annotator, but I thought this book was so cute. This was a 5-star read for me, and I would recommend it to anyone who wants to read romance, a magical realism. This book follows Clementine West, who inherits her late grandmother's apartment, and this apartment is magical in itself. So one day she comes home, unlocks the door, she walks inside, and she realizes that she is 7 years in the past, and 7 years ago to that exact date, a man was living there. And they are around the same age, so they start to bond. But at first she's kind of like, why are you in my apartment? What is happening? And then she realizes what's going on, right? Over time, she starts to develop a relationship and fall in love with this man that is 7 years in the past. But then she realizes, oh yeah, this man is 7 years in the past. He's not in the present. I can't be in love with him. And it's all about timing and finding the one and all of that jazz. I promise it's so cute, and it's really difficult to talk about the book without spoiling it, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Number 17 is a book you read this year that you would reread. So for this, like I said, I don't want to talk about the same books over and over again, even though I kind of have. So I picked Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, and this is a book that I read fairly recently. I want to say 3-ish months ago, and I loved this book. I really do need to read Iron Flame soon to see if I'm going to continue the Empyrean series, but this one, I ate it up. I think this is just a general adult fantasy. I don't think it's YA, because if it's YA, she's a little spicy. This book follows main character Violet Sorrengail and her time at Basgiath War College as a dragon rider. That's my one-sentence synopsis on this book. If you're looking to get into fantasy, if you're looking to get into fantasies with dragons, I feel like this is a really good first book. And also it ends on a cliffhanger of sorts, so. Number 19 is a book you wish you got to this year. So I chose two. One of them is a series and one of them is a standalone book. So the first one I have is the Throne of Glass series, particularly getting to Kingdom of Ash, which is the last book in the series. First of all, this book has almost 1,000 pages in it. So talk about intimidating, right? I really need to finish this series. I am currently on Queen of Shadows, so I have started the series. I just need to get into the thick of it and really lock in. I got into such a big reading slump because of this series that I had to change my reading habits and read some romance and other fantasy books and fiction and all of the other stuff that I ended up reading aside from this series. But my plan for the new year is to finish this series and get it off of my TBR, because not only am I sick of looking at it on my TBR, but also I really want to know the hype. I want to know why everyone loves this series so much. And I did love the books that I have read so far. I think that they have been amazing. But reading it straight after ACOTAR, I feel like was just a lot for me. So we're gonna get to this in the new year. I'm promising myself that. The next book I have is a standalone book, which is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. And I have talked about this book a lot on my channel, I feel like. I don't know, I refilm videos a lot, so I've talked about this book a lot in general in my life. This is a pretty thick book. It's just over 500 pages, but it is a historical fiction following two sisters during World War II. I love a good historical fiction. Sue me. I really need to read this book. I have heard nothing but good things about it, and I have heard that it does take a little bit to get into, but that once you get to a certain point, you'll just devour it, and it is a page turner. I feel like this book is going to change my life, and I feel like the reason that I have put it off for so long is because I know it's going to be one of those books that I will be sad that I can never read again for the first time. All right, and then the last two questions are kind of just general looking back on the year and looking forward to next year. So our next question is your 2024 reading goal reflection and reading goal for 2025. So I'm a little disappointed in myself. My goal for this year initially was 100 books, and then very early in the year I went down to 75, and then I went down to 50. So I literally cut it in half. This year I have only read 38 books, and I do have a little bit of time left to get that to at least 40, but I've only read 38, and as a book girly, that's not enough for me, especially now that I'm making book videos. I need to read more. I do have a reason. It's not that I didn't want to read, but I have been having a rough year mentally. I feel like I was going through a lot. I'm in therapy now, so we're getting there. We're getting better slowly but surely, but next year we're looking up. Okay. My goal for next year is to read 75 books. I don't want to overwhelm myself with the 100 goal yet, but I really do think I can make it to 75, especially because I have so many videos planned for next year where I have to read certain books. So it's coming, guys. We're gonna lock in. And then number 20 is, what will you prioritize in your 2025 reading year? My main priority for the new year is to finish my physical TBR. I I have so many books that I haven't read yet, particularly romances. For a while, I was doing super good. I would only buy books when I had nothing left to read. And then my buying habit kind of got out of control and it just spiraled. And the truth is, I want to stop partaking in like overconsumption. I feel like we all are buying way past our means, and so I want to stop that. So my goal is to finish all of the books that I have read, and if I don't read it by the end of next year, it's gotta go. We're donating it, selling it, whatever. So that is my main goal. And then my secondary goal is to read more genres. So I want to read more general fiction, maybe some more thrillers, mysteries, and maybe a book here and there from other genres that I maybe don't enjoy so much but would like to explore. But anyways, that is the 2024 end of the year book tag. These are all the books we talked about today, as you can see. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any reading or book recommendations for the new year, any new video ideas that you guys want to see from a booktuber. I mean, I see all my comments, so maybe you'll get it, maybe you'll get that video, who knows. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, and you can follow me on my social media accounts. I am super active on there. We could become besties, it would be great. And of course, you don't have to, but if you wanted to, you could hit subscribe below. And I will see you guys tomorrow for some more Bookmas. Bye!